Good afternoon, Ajahn John here. If you have been following the news, you will certainly know about the refugees from Myanmar who have been living in jungle camps in the south of Thailand, and also there are other people in boats trying to land. These people are coming from the west of Myanmar, but they don't intend to stay in Thailand. I believe they intend to go to Malaysia, which is also a Muslim country, and therefore they may feel more comfortable there, and there are some horrifying stories coming out from the south of Thailand of bodies being found in camps which have been closed down, and stories of people being held hostage and their families in Myanmar being forced to pay large ransom sums, ransom, R-A-N-S-O-M. So what is a refugee? This is someone who goes to another country, usually illegally, because they are suffering some hardship in their own country. Some hardship. H-A-R-D-S-H-I-P. There are two kinds of refugee, economic and political. The economic refugee is leaving their country because they are poor. Maybe they hope to get a better job and living standard in the new country. And the political refugee is leaving because maybe they are in danger, or they are persecuted because of their religious beliefs or cultural differences. Or it may just be like Syria, for example, that there is a war going on and people fear for their lives. Consequently, they try to escape to a safer country. As you can see in the picture, these people often go by boat. I suppose this is because it is easier than going over land, where it may be more difficult to sneak through the border, S-N-E-A-K, and also the terrain may be mountainous and therefore difficult to cross. Terrain and mountainous. Whatever way these people choose for their journey, it is obviously going to be a very difficult one, and I'm sure most people have a lot of sympathy for them, although that doesn't necessarily mean they want them living on their doorstep. The classic response to refugees from countries who do not welcome them is just to send them back. They may even get the Navy to fire shots at them to warn them away and tell them to go back to their own country. However, in recent years there have been many disasters at sea where many of these refugees have drowned. Whole boatloads have disappeared below the ocean, often because the boats are very old and in very poor condition. So for humanitarian reasons, most countries do not now follow that method. They will instead try to help the refugees in some way. What is the best way to deal with this problem? Well, of course, the very best way would be for people to solve the problems in the countries which they are running away from. This would be by far the easiest solution for everyone, but of course that's not going to happen because the situations in their countries are already too far gone to be dealt with in any simple way. So these people often feel they have no choice but to seek a new home in a distant country. What should be the attitude of the countries they land in? Should they welcome them with open arms? Well, I'm quite sure most countries do not want to do that for many reasons. Some of which are, for example, these people may have different language and culture, making it very difficult for them to fit in with the local community. They may be poorly educated. They may bring with them diseases and illnesses not native to the new country. And once they arrive, they are going to have to be supported with food, accommodation, medical care, and so on. So this is going to be a big financial burden for the country who did not choose to invite these people. This is not a problem only for Thailand. This is a problem going on all over the world. Wherever there is a rich country bordering a poor country, we are going to get this problem. The poor people want to leave their poor country and go to the richer country. So one of the biggest problems is between South America and the US. The US border in the south is one of the most traveled across borders for refugees and illegal immigrants. There is also a substantial problem in Europe, boats coming across the Mediterranean from Africa, full of people, again from poor countries, hoping to start a new life in what they see as rich European countries. And in Australia, of course, boats coming from places like Indonesia and the Philippines, again hoping to find a new life in what they see as rich Australia. So here's the essay question. If a country finds that they are attractive to refugees from poor countries hoping to live there, how should they respond to this situation? Should they send them back home or invite them to stay? Introduction first. The problem of refugees really reflects the problem of inequality in the world and different states of peace between countries. Western countries in North America and Europe, for example, seem very attractive to poor people from undeveloped countries and people who live in an unsafe environment, maybe because their country has a civil war, like in Syria, or because there are natural disasters such as earthquakes and floods. So we are always going to have the problem of people trying to move to another place to improve their lives. Second paragraph. I'm going to support a humanitarian strategy for the destination countries. Although it would be nice just to wash our hands of the problem and send the refugees back home, I think if we have any humanitarian values, we cannot do this. We must assess these people based upon their needs and try to help them in what way we can, while also showing respect to our own resources and citizens. For example, refugees landing in Thailand from Myanmar, certainly on a temporary basis we should give them the basic necessities they need for living, such as food and accommodation, basic medical care. But we should interview them and use other methods to find out sufficient information to know both why they are coming to this country and assess whether they can fit into the new community. We need to look at their education, language, culture, religion. For example, I heard of a case recently where a country had a very positive and humanitarian way of dealing with refugees. They did not mollycoddle them, mollycoddle, mollycoddle. Instead, they assessed each person based on their education, experience, and made it obligatory for each person to train in the skills which were felt appropriate for them, and also to take a course in the local language and learn about the culture of the country they had come to. If people were not willing to follow these procedures, then after a short while they were sent back to their own country. Although this method clearly involved the receiving country in a great deal of work and use of resources, it felt like an extremely positive way of dealing with this problem. Third paragraph, saying something in support of sending them back. On the other hand, sometimes people are purely economic refugees, meaning they don't have any real justifiable reason for wanting to leave their own country. Maybe they already have a fairly decent job in their own country and they do not suffer any political or religious persecution. They are just looking for greener grass. They are looking for greener grass. In this case, perhaps we should consider sending them back. Last paragraph, conclusion. In conclusion, I think we have to accept that most of the time these refugees do have genuine problems. They are trying to escape from genuine problems. Therefore, we need to deal with them using both humanitarian values and practical common sense. That's the end of the essay. We can see in Thailand and in many other places that unfortunately the people who help these people to leave the country are often criminals. And this is what we often see when governments make something illegal. Criminal organizations will arise to take over this business. This happens with illegal drugs, smuggling, prostitution, for example. So in the long term, governments need to consider a more legal and organized way of dealing with these problems. Just making a law to try and stop something may well exacerbate the problem. Exacerbates. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.